Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. So we've already done the weekend broadcast. You can find the video to that on the homepage. Just scroll down a little bit and it's underneath the link ad. So you can have a look at the weekend forecast video if you would like to do that. Going to be quite an interesting week's weather coming up, and I'll let you wait and see what's going to be happening. There's also the written version of that. You can get that via the buttons at the top of the page. This is JMA Saturday, so we're going to be going 3 months ahead with the long-range Japanese model. Now, this is going to make up part of the long-range update that we do next weekend. We're going to get all the season models together. I think there'll be around 9 or 10 of them next weekend. It's going to be quite a long one. It'll be on Sunday next week, tomorrow. Get around 10 long-range forecasting models together, and we'll have a look at the consensus of all of those models for winter 2016-2017. This JMA update will make up part of that seasonal model roundup, but there's so much information that you can glean from the JMA that I won't have time to touch on all of it in the video, because I have the other 9 or 10 models to go at. So I like to isolate this one out a little bit, similar to what we do with CFS in a way. Isolate it out and have a look in detail, try to drill down a bit at what it's going for in terms of its pressure anomalies, in terms of its temperature precipitation, all of that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be doing for JMA Saturday. It's going to take us from next month, from November through to January. So we'll go not through the full winter period quite with this update, but we'll go up to the middle part of the winter. Next month will be the full JMA winter update, of course. So I'll get on with it for you in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles all over the pages. Have a browse through the widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll be helping us to pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads on most of the pages, which open up content. When you watch, they close back up again. It does all help to pay for gavsweatherthis.com. Tomorrow, we've got the 7th winter 2016-2017 update coming up at website. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But let's get on with JMA Saturday. We're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts for the northern hemisphere, looking from the pole down, essentially. So we're starting off in November. This is the North Pole just here, mid-latitudes around here, and the UK is just there. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Yellow extrapolates high pressure, and blue extrapolates to low pressure. So what's evident for November is that model is placing quite a big ridge of above average heights there to the north of us. So we have got hints of northern blocking in November 2016. But actually the driver for us looks like it's this area of above average heights to the south and the trough to the northwest. So this looks quite Atlantic driven, and I would have thought fairly mild as well. It could be quite unsettled, particularly so for the north, maybe very wet parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but quite a mild, unsettled, wettish November coming up, if that's right. With so much blocking over the top of the pole, we can't rule out the chance of some colder snaps, however, so don't write off the possibility of some cold interludes during November with that much high pressure sitting over top of the North Pole. But, have to emphasise, it wouldn't be a particularly cold month. It would generally be quite a mildish and Atlantic-driven sort of November. Now we go through into December, and quite interesting then, because the trough of low pressure now is to the south of us, and they've got all of this yellow and orange up to the north and northeast. Rather a bizarre looking chart, but the centre of this area of above average heights, which is high pressure, is sort of Scandinavia and western Russia. So I think we're reading between the lines, we're probably bringing the winds in from the east there, and that does look cold to me. We've got low pressure down to the south. High pressure is up here, and again going up to here. So I would have thought that's likely to be quite a cold month, actually, as we're going through into December. There is some wintry potential there, I think, particularly, but not exclusively, for the east And then, very interesting, look at this for January. Look at this. We've got above average heights to the north of Scandinavia, around Svalbard, high pressure up there, and also going down in towards Greenland. Probably extending down into the Atlantic, middle of the mid-Atlantic ridge, and then below average heights to the northeast of us. And the upshot is that we would be, again, bringing winds down from a northerly, northeasterly type direction. That looks a cold January to me. November, okay, looks fairly mildish and Atlantic driven, but get through to December, cold easterlies, and get through to January, could be even colder there. And that trough of low pressure to the east of us and in the North Sea would hold out, I think, some wintry potential, dare I say it, the risk of significant snow perhaps across parts of the country. Now, if you've been keeping an eye on our seasonal updates from the ECMWF model, our interpretations of the ECMWF model, you'll know that these anomalies we're seeing here are very, very, very similar to what the ECMWF is sort of going for in terms of this winter at the moment. So the JMA seems to be in line, certainly for the early and middle part of winter. We can't say for the full winter period yet because we don't have that available. That'll come on stream next month. But certainly for the early and mid-winter period, it does look as though the JMA is going with the ECMWF and placing us in towards a colder type winter pattern. So that's the Northern Hemisphere view, looking from the pole down. This is the mid-latitude and tropical view. So the tropics just here, this area is the tropics. And then down here we have got the Southern Hemisphere, of course. And up here we've got the Northern Hemisphere. And what I also need to tell you is that the poles are off the chart. So if I just elongate that out a bit like that, then that's the South Pole down there off the chart. And if I do the same up here, so going through like that, that is the North Pole just there. And what's most important for us in the UK is that we are just here in the far top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. And this, of course, is Europe and Russia as well over here. We've got North America. Right, just so that you know where everybody is. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly for November. Just a quick recap what the model was doing in November. It's got a ridge down to the south. It's got low pressure up to the northwest, and it's bringing the air up a bit like that. So it looks mild and Atlantic driven, really, in November. Let's see whether my interpretation is correct. So we'll have a look at the temperatures. First of all, this is the temperature anomaly for November, scaled on the bottom, of course, so coming out a little bit milder than average in November. As I say, there is a bit of northern blocking, so there is a bit of wintry potential, I think, even in November, but it's not a particularly cold and wintry month in terms of what the model is going for anyway. But it doesn't rule out the chance of a few colder snouts, but overall temperatures a little bit milder than average. I have a look at precipitation. Atlantic driven, so quite a wet month being forecast there in November. So fairly mild, unsettled, and at times quite wet. The wind arrows, these are a bit of a job to make out, really, but the black arrows here showing where the mean wind direction is coming from. It's generally sort of southwesterly, westerly, coming up a bit like that. So that's the reason it's a mild and wettish sort of month. Now, things get much more interesting as we go through into December, of course. So, this is 500 millibar height anomaly for December. It's got ridging to the north, and then the trough is down to the south. We thought probably opening the door to easterly winds as well in December. You will think that's going to be quite a coldish month. This is what the temperature signal actually looks like. So it's not overly cold, really. You might not be able to make this out, but there is a little bit of blue just to the south of us. Slightly cold average temperatures there. But actually, overall, the model is still going for a slightly milder than average month. That could be because there's a bit of a mild bias at work there. But slightly milder than average. In terms of precipitation in December, so it's wetter than average Interestingly, it's wetter than average for Scotland, or a bit above average for Scotland, and drier than average for England and Wales. The mean wind arrows, again, they're always very difficult to work out, but the mean wind arrows show that we are bringing the air in from an easterly direction, which you would have thought is going to be cold. But if you go over to here on this side of the chart, this is shown for many parts of Europe. You see that for many central eastern parts of Europe, the wind arrows are sort of southerly. So I assume what's happening there is that the winds are coming up from the south and then around into the east, a bit like that. So that explains why, despite the high pressure to the east of us and being with easterly winds, it's not a desperately cold month. However, it probably is overplaying the temperatures a bit, and I would have thought, given the setup, it would almost certainly be a bit colder than average, albeit we're probably not talking about depths of winter. And then we go through into January, and remember there's lots of blocking to the north of us in January, and also extending out into the Atlantic. And we thought with a trough, got to come over to this side of the chart, with a trough just there, probably opening the door again to sort of northerly, northeasterly influences. The temperature anomaly, again, it isn't anything to get excited about, and that is very often what you find with these long-range models. You do sort of have to read between the lines. Out in the Atlantic, it's cooler than average. Also over here, across central parts of Europe, up towards Scandinavia, cooler than average. For us, average to still maybe ever so slightly milder than average. So the temperature anomalies, and we saw this with the ECMWF as well, when we did the interpretation of the ECMWF. The temperature anomaly is nothing to get excited about. Precipitation, remember we've got that, we've got that trough of low pressure to the east of us, so precipitation is coming out above average, and I think there will be some wintry potential in with that also. Let's have a look at the wind arrows, and this looks more of a definitively cold month to me, although the temperature anomaly is nothing to get excited about. This does look a wintry month. The wind arrows are from the north. Again, they're not all that easy to make out. They are coming from a north type direction, and over there like that. There is nothing really to be moderating those northerly sort of influences, unlike in December when, although it is an easterly, the air probably is originating from the south, if you see what I mean. It's coming up from the south and then around into an easterly. There's none of that in January. That's just a straightforward northerly wind. That's a cold month. The model is wrong. This temperature anomaly that you see here is wrong. I'm going to say that now. That is not right if the model has its pressure set up and wind directions and everything else correct. It'll be a colder than average month. Now, of course, if the model is wrong with its pressure anomalies and so on, then we've got to think again. But let's assume that model is getting its pattern right, but it's getting its mean wind direction right in January, and its pressure as well. If it is, then it's going to be colder than that suggests. I think December will probably be colder than the model suggests as well. So as ever with these long-range models, they do tend to overcook the temperatures. The one that is always different is JAMSTEC. For some reason that is always slightly on the colder side of things. But all the other models, maybe not the UK Met Office model, but nearly all the other models, they do tend to overcook the temperature anomalies, and we've seen that again with the JMA, particularly in terms of its January forecast. So really interesting update for JMA Saturday. It looks like November Atlantic driven, fairly mild and wettish, if one is right. December looks colder, more easterly influences coming through in December. Probably not a classically cold month, but nevertheless, I think it would be a bit cold on average, and there would be some wintry potential at times as well. And then January looks really interesting. I think that could be a proper cold month in January if the model is right, with sort of a locked-in cold pattern, perhaps delivering quite a prolonged spell of fairly cold and wintry conditions. dare I say it, there would be the risk of significant snow if that came off, as the models suggest. We shall wait and see. As ever with these long-range models, they are always highly experimental, and it is just for fun with all of these long-range outputs. We'll wait and see what all of the other long-range models suggest when we do the second Winter 2016-2017 seasonal model roundup. That will be a week tomorrow, week on Sunday. We get all models together, including the JMA, and we'll see what they are forecasting for the second time this season for the winter of 2016-2017. Talking of winter 2016-2017, tomorrow we've got the 7th update, so we'll be having a look at ENSO again. We'll be having a look at solar activity, see how the Gauss Weather's solar tracker has gone over the past week. We'll be looking at Siberian snow cover, all the things that you've come to know and love that we look at every week at this time of year. We'll be looking at all of that tomorrow for the 7th update. Also tomorrow there will be a written update for Christmas as well. That'll be on the Christmas updates page tomorrow afternoon, so come back for that tomorrow. So we're getting very, very interesting now at GazWeatherViz as we count down towards the winter and towards Christmas. But that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in on your Saturday evening. I'll let you get back to X Factor or Strictly, whatever it is that you enjoy on a Saturday evening. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.